I wanted to let readers in on this world to sort of
Mhm.
see that at the tip of the iceberg is this wonderful, glorious thing. All true, completely true. I embrace it. But underneath the iceberg, there's this just craziness on all level, fear, stress, pressure, high stakes. And really, what could be better for a thriller than all of those
All
things?
of that. Welcome to our latest episode of Book Reporter Talks to. Our guest today is Phillippi Ryan, and we're going to be talking about her latest thriller, All This Could Be Yours. And oh boy, you're going to be thinking about this. Love it. I love it. It's a Book Reporter Bets On selection, but I'm interviewing Hank before our Book Reporter review is available. So I'm going to give you a few raves of what I've heard already about All This Could Be Yours. Let's start with a starred review from Library Journal that says Ryan has created her best book to date, which should be on everyone's reading list. Nita Prose, the #1 New York Times bestselling author of The Maid and The Mystery Guest, said, a propulsive page turner about a best-selling author keeping dangerous secrets about her past. But fame has a funny way of pointing to the truth in this twisty and wholly absorbing thriller. And one more, Ashley Elston, #1 New York Times bestselling author, First Lie Wins, calls it a wildly entertaining cat and mouse thriller. I absolutely love this. I agree with all three of them. And with that intro, welcome, Hank. So nice to see you again.
Thank you. This is the best interview I've ever done, I have to say. I love hearing that. It's so rewarding and so marvelous to hear those kind words from you and from those other marvelous authors and from the fabulous Library Journal. I mean, I sit here at this very desk in this very room by myself for so long creating this book, and then you just put it out in the world and cross your fingers. So this is an incredibly delightful result. Thank you.
And I will tell you, folks, that that is just some of the blurbs. I just took some of what there is so much out there about this book. So let's talk about this. If the book is sent against the backdrop of the world we know so well, the publishing world, specifically an author book tour, and you take us on tour with you, with all the joys and pressures. So tell us what it was like, where you got the idea for I'm going to do this and create a character and take her on tour.
Thank you. It has been such a dream to write this book. I mean, I was thinking this is just the only I could write this book. It is the perfect book for me. And it only could have been written out of love, out of joy, out of experience, out of terror, out of having my own book tours. Every single thing that happens on book tour happens in this book. So, and I hope so realistically. The book stars Tessa Calloway, who is a debut author with a surprise best-selling novel. And she's sent out on a national glamorous book tour by her publisher, which every author wants to have happen. And she has adoring audiences and standing room only crowds and adulation and fans. And people wear her signature periwinkle earrings just to show how much they love her and this debut novel. So this is the dream of her life. She has quit her job to follow her dreams and write a novel to glorious success. Um, the problem is, Tessa finds on tour that she may not be on tour alone, that she might just have a stalker,
Mhm.
someone who is out to ruin her career and destroy the family she's left back home. Her darling, we think, husband Henry and her two completely adorable children are back home in their brand new house, and they're relying on Tessa for their finances. She is the sole breadwinner of the family. So even though Tessa is on this fabulous book tour, it soon turns into a nationwide cross-country cat and mouse chase that has Tessa running for her life.
She's in the
Oh,
crosshairs. She
well,
definitely.
she's a moving target in this novel. And the thing is that I love about it is that underneath Tessa's joy and underneath her paranoia about a potential stalker, the reason it's not paranoia is that Tessa worries that this situation has emerged and it's her fault, that
Mhm.
it's a result of a Faustian bargain that she made when she was younger, what really felt like to her felt like a deal with the devil. And she is very fearful that this deal has come due, that the devil needs to be paid now, and that every terrible thing that's about to happen to her and her family is her own fault. And that sort of guilt feeds into this sort of general terrified disequilibrium of being on book tour, leading to real danger and real suspense, and what I hope is a page-turning thriller. I want you to miss your stop on the subway because you can't stop turning the pages.
This is a Mrs. Stop on the Subway book. Trust me, it is. And so did you get the idea when you were on tour of like, what if? I mean, there's a lot of downtime on the planes on tour. It's a
Carol, very,
what if.
very, very specifically, and it's so much, and you'll recognize this completely. I was at Poison Pen in Scottsdale, which you know well.
Yes.
I signed someone's book, thank you so much for a wonderful evening in Scottsdale. And I signed my name and I signed the date. And then I thought, and as I handed her the book, I thought, well, that just gave someone a perfect alibi. It shows I was in Scottsdale, she was in Scottsdale at this particular bookstore at this particular date. And so I thought, what else do we, about the other things that we write when we inscribe books? Thank you so much for everything. It's such a joy to know you. Such a wonderful evening we spent together. How nice to sit with you at dinner. Like every single one of those things, if you look at the dark side of it, could
Mhm.
really be used dangerously. It could be used to harm someone. It could be used to completely mislead someone
Mhm.
about your relationship with them. And sort of, I started thinking about all the scary things that happen on book tour. Like Tessa's schedule, my schedule is on my website. You
Right.
can know when I'm on book tour exactly where I am, exactly what time every day. Now, I want you to know that. That's great. That's publicity. If I'm going to be at the XYZ bookstore, I want you to know that I'm at XYZ bookstore because I want you to come
Right.
see me and buy the book. But on the other hand, you're going to know where I am at every minute of every day,
Mhm.
essentially, because if I'm going to the bookstore at 7, then at 6:30 or so, I'm going to be on the way to the bookstore. And at some time, I'm going
Mhm.
to be on the sidewalk to the bookstore or driving to the bookstore. If I'm going from Des Moines to St. Louis, let's say, on a plane, I have to go on a plane. That means I have to go to the airport. That means I'm on the plane to St. Louis. How many planes to St. Louis from Des Moines can there be? So you could know where I am at the airport. There was one day that I put up a picture on Instagram saying, hi, I'm at the whatever it is airport at gate D4. And my publicist types, like, don't tell people you're at gate D4. And it never crossed my mind.
Wow.
I'm just sort
Wow.
of saying where I am.
Right.
Not only do people know where we are because we put it out there, but that means they also know where we aren't. So if I am at the library in Des Moines, where I will be, and I cannot wait, if I'm at the library in Des Moines, I'm not home, right? And
Right.
everybody who lives in my house knows I'm not going to be home. And if something happens in my house, I'm not home. If somebody knows where I am, I'm not home. And so the whole idea of publicity and making ourselves be open to what the public knows about us and our schedule and our time started getting really scary. So basically, I took everything about a glamorous, marvelous, wonderful thing that is book tour and just weaponized the whole thing and made it into the book tour from hell. I love book tour. I love it. I embrace it. I enjoy it. I love every single minute of it, even when I'm exhausted and starving and have no idea where I am or what day it is. I
Right.
completely love it. But every author knows that it is stressful,
Mhm.
that it is unbelievably high stakes,
Mhm.
because if you look at it in a kind of clinical way,
Mhm.
you're sort of a traveling salesperson,
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
you are.
Right.
And you are the only person who can possibly make your career work. And it all relies on the bookstores, on the libraries, on the readers, on the publishers, on the publicists, on the weather, on the whim of the universe. on whether the airplane takes off in time, whether you can find an Uber, whether the hotel room is ready, all those kinds of things. You know this perfectly. And
Yes.
so I wanted to let readers in on this world to sort of
Mhm.
see that at the tip of the iceberg is this wonderful, glorious thing. All true, completely true. I embrace it. But underneath the iceberg, there's this just craziness on all level, fear, stress, pressure, high stakes. And really, what could be better for a thriller than all of those
With all
things?
of that. And the 4 a.m. that you have to get up. I love that you have the clock is going at 4 a.m. for the flight. And I also love that Tessa's wearing two watches, one that shows the time at home and one shows the event time. And it's things like Arizona doesn't change time in the summer. So you have to know these little tiny things. And do you wear two watches or you just know? You just calculate.
Oh no, absolutely, Carol. When I'm on book tour, I absolutely wear two watches. I wear one for the current time of where I am,
Yep.
and one for the home time because I need to know what my husband is doing and what's happening in my other life.
Right.
Also, my publicist and my publisher are in New York,
Right.
so I need to know what time they're on. And that's one of the things I did that you'll notice in All This Could Be Yours. Tessa lives in Rockport, Massachusetts. And I had her go straight out on a book tour to the West Coast so
Right.
she could be as much in disequilibrium with her family as she could possibly be.
Right.
So she and her family are on completely different schedules. And she's trying to be, I mean, this is one of the things of the balance of the novel, is that she's trying to be a good mom and a
Mhm.
good wife while
Mhm.
she's still the sole breadwinner and she has to be on the road. So she's a mom and a wife via Zoom and via FaceTime. And she begins to start worrying that her husband is kind of curating what he lets her see from his end. She
Uh-huh.
realizes that Henry has control of the Zoom camera and has control of the FaceTime camera. And she wonders what's going on behind the scenes, what's going on off camera that my husband isn't showing me and that I have no way of seeing. And so that kind of fear of what's going on at home, and that perhaps this bad guy, if there is one, whoever it is not only working on Tessa's end with Tessa, but sort of antagonizing, harming, threatening, endangering her family, who has no idea that they may be being harmed.
Yeah.
And so she's worried about both levels. So she's worried in two time zones.
Two different time zones about what's going. I personally love when we won't say the color, but the kitchen has been painted a color, and she's like, and I have to say, you picked for that a color that usually kitchens are not. It's just usually not. I just thought that was like so perfect. I also loved her wardrobe plans, what to travel in, and her on-stage outfit. And I think you covered one of the big like obstacles of author travel. I've actually heard author friends who use Rent the Runway just so that they wear something different every single day. Because remember, you used to not be photographed every single day when you're on the road. Now, all of a sudden, with social media, you always do the let's take a picture with the audience, and you can't be wearing the same dress every single day. So, when
I would love to know whether this is so high on my concern list. And it's so silly, I know. But I wonder if people really notice that. I hope they don't, because on this book tour, you're going to see like Hank in that green jacket again. I'm so sorry. But now when you read the book, you'll realize I don't ever check a suitcase.
no,
Another
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't ever check a suitcase because they're going to lose it. I
yeah.
mean, God bless the airlines and we love them, but I'm just going to carry on my bags because I need that stuff. And so if it doesn't fit in that carry-on overhead bag, it's not going with me. And if I'm on the road for 2 weeks, of necessity, you're going to see the same things. That's why you'll notice I sort of lean to black.
Yeah,
It's all those black things. It's all going to kind of look the same. So you all, for me and for every other author, don't worry. Please don't notice. Please don't care. Please embrace that we're wearing the same things because we have no choice about this.
I travel like a pack mule. I mean, really, I travel. I got to the point where I was like, okay, can we just ship this part home and I'll keep the rest here? We went out to Colorado last year and I had 4 bags with me, four, because I didn't have time to edit and everything. And I forgot we were going to 3 different places. So it could have repeated. It really wouldn't have mattered. And we were going to stay with Lisa C. And I said to my husband, we need to get this down to one suitcase because I cannot go in her house with four bags. It's
Yeah.
mortifying. But you're carrying your laptop, you've got all this stuff. But I just really love the wardrobe plan. I was like, okay, here's my outfit. And your travel outfit was well thought through as well. I was like, this is a woman that, but then at one point, the bag, we're not going to share, does get lost. And even it's the bag in the overhead. So that was really good.
I mean, that's my own little locked room mystery.
Yes, yeah,
Something happens to Tessa's suitcase while she's on the plane.
yeah,
And that means that whoever did whatever it was to her suitcase was on the plane with her. And she could have seen that happen if only she had been watching.
right.
That I love that little twist of the book. I don't ever plan my novels. I don't know what's coming
Yeah.
next in the book. And so everything that happens sort of because I think, what does someone want right now? What does someone need right now? What does Tessa hope for right now? What absolutely must happen to make her life be okay? I ask myself. And then I think, okay, so what could go wrong? What could ruin that? What could be a disaster? What could be the worst thing that could possibly happen to her? And most importantly, what would she do as a result of that?
Mhm.
Because the reaction to an obstacle is what makes someone interesting, isn't it? It's what reveals their psychology to us. Do they do the generous, benevolent, loving, selfless thing, or
Right.
do they do the mean, nasty, ugly, venal, illegal thing? So Tessa's decisions are always out of love, and
Mhm.
they're always out of hope, and they're always out of desire to make everything work.
Right.
But as the story goes along, I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know what her obstacles are going to be. It just sort of, if I'm lucky, just sort of appears in my mind because it's Tessa's real life.
Yeah.
It's me channeling this character and really being her and really living this story with her. I mean, it's
Right.
interesting. I was at an event with John Sanford recently where he said his goal as an author is to create a dream that the reader can live in. I thought that
Okay.
was so profound
Great.
and
That's
so
great.
wonderful
Yeah.
because, yeah, because that's what I tried to do with this book is, here is this life, and I want you to be Tessa in this life and feel what she feels and worry about what she worries about and feel joy when she feels joy and to understand, that she's followed her dream to do something that she loves. How hard will she have to work to
Hmm.
keep that dream alive? And
Hmm.
how far will she go to protect it?
Right. And you really talk about the entire process of publishing a book. You go from it being bought at a publishing house at auction, the pre-pub reviews, the blurbs, the social media, and the latter is something that has become a whole job for authors, which is social media. And let's talk about what that means for Tessa because she's got to put herself out there. And you put yourself out there with your children. Do you pay, say, I bought a new house, and everybody's, that's because she got a good deal. Like, what do you tell and what do you not? And also, you've got people that are never going to see you. Let's say they live in Idaho and you're not going to Idaho. And they're following you on the road because they've heard about this book and they're excited about it and they're watching you. But you don't know who they are. And it's like you were on television. You don't know who was watching you. And the same thing here. Who's watching?
It's exactly the same feeling. You're so wise about that because I've been on television for 40 years. I've wired myself with hidden cameras and confronted corrupt politicians and chased down criminals and gone undercover and in disguise. And when I do my stories, I'm talking to you, the
Mhm.
audience, but I don't see you. But you see me. I mean, I have people come up to me on the street or in the grocery store or in the bookstore, or the library, wherever, the dry cleaners, and say, "Oh, you're Hank Phillippi Ryan."
Mhm.
Uh, and I don't know whether they're going to say, which they sometimes do, I hate you, you ruined my life.
Ooh.
Or if they're going to say, I love you, I love your stories, thank you so much, you changed my life, you got my money back, whatever it was. I don't know, but they all feel that they know me.
Hmm.
They all feel that they can say whatever they want to me.
Hmm.
And they all feel they can say, oh, you changed your hair, that kind of thing.
Right.
And I love that. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't be successful on television.
Hmm.
So I embrace it fully, but I'm aware that public persona is always, always, always out there. Because it's just you, I will confess to you that you know, especially as a result of television, I am aware of looking pleasant when I'm in public.
Hmm.
Not like
Hmm.
looking like I'm worried or frowning. I'm aware of having a pleasant face. That's so ridiculous. It's so silly.
Yeah.
But that's the life that I've chosen is this public life. Now,
Hmm.
although Tessa in her previous life, which she quit, and she quit her job in order to follow her dreams and write a novel, was a corporate trainer, and she's used to being on the road.
Right.
She's used to talking in front of audiences. She's used to having connections with other people who are strangers. So she isn't so uncomfortable on the road. But right now her career is on the line and she relies on strangers. She relies on people on social media, to go back to your point. She relies on people on social media to boost her career, to be on her team, to be involved with her, to love her book, to help spread the word. And we all know, every single person listening to this knows how, you know, one wrong word, one nasty comment, one insidious piece of theoretical gossip or speculation, how damaging that can be.
Yes. Yes.
So when
Yeah.
Tessa puts up, "Oh, I'm in Des Moines, I'm having such a good time," and someone in the comments says, "How come Tessa won't talk about her hometown?"
Hmm.
Or did you see the handsome guy that went into Tessa's event? I wonder who that was. And someone said, someone puts hashtag on the road affair. And someone else says, "No, Tessa has happily married." And someone else puts up, "Ha ha." This is all conjecture. This is
Yeah.
all made up. But that stuff is very powerful. So
Hmm.
throughout, Tessa is battling the reality of who she is on the road. She's battling this fear of who might be following her. And there's an undercurrent all the time on social media of people sniping at her and griping at her, even as most of the people are saying, "We love you, we love you, we love you, we love this book." So she's just in a state of unsteadiness, uncertainty, unknowingness, and at every single second, something could go wrong.
Right. And you're going out first time. You don't know these booksellers. You don't know these stores. You don't know the people that are coming in. It's not like the regulars coming back as you've been on the road as long as you've done it. It's just everything is new. And there's the stress of just walking in and meeting a bookseller and, oh, well, no, it's actually the person over there and the person doesn't even recognize you and you're the event that night. I mean, it's all these little micro things that happen as you're along the way.
Well,
Your
no,
room.
I always say to my husband, here's another potential humiliation for me. I'm just going to go into the bookstore. But you say I'm here for the Hank Phillippi Ryan event, and they say it's over there, or she's not here yet, or whatever it is. I mean, one really, really famous author, you probably remember who it is, but I don't remember, went into a bookstore and said, "Do you want me to sign this book?" Her book. And she was told, "No, I never mind about that," because she wasn't sure who she was. And she's like, "Look, no, my picture's
My
on the back."
picture's on the back. My picture's on the back. Yeah, it's me. It's me.
Or I'll, and I say, and I have said, would you like me to sign this pile of books? And they say, "I'll have to ask my manager." And I want to say, like, your manager wants me to sign them.
They want me
He
to do
really
it.
does want me to sign them. So one of the things that I learned about this book, though, from this book, one of the things I learned from this book that I already knew, but that I wanted to make sure that other people know, is you were talking about going to an independent bookstore and how terrifying that is. And is anybody going to show up? And what if it doesn't show up? And what if they don't recognize you? And what if there's not even one person in the seat? That's horrible. um, how much independent bookstores are pivotal in our careers and in
Mhm.
our lives,
Right.
and how much they rely on the people who come to these events. It is so important, when readers think, "Oh, I don't need to go to a book event." And I think, "Oh, yeah, you do.
Hmm.
These independent bookstores live and die by these events. A good event can make their bottom line for the
Yes.
week, and a
Mhm.
bad event can ruin it." And this is all of us, this is all of us participating in keeping bookstores alive. And
Mhm.
this book sort of turned into a love letter to
Right.
independent
It did.
bookstores
Yeah.
and to libraries. And librarians have changed our lives. They're always there for us. Anybody can have a book in the library. When we all see our books in the library, it just brings tears to our eyes because when I was a little kid and I would go to the library and I think, I wonder what it would be like to have my very book in this very
Mhm.
library. It was just
Mhm.
such a dream come true. So, on the one hand, it's a fast-paced, propulsive, page-turning thriller, I hope. On the other hand, it's a real inside look at the high-stress, high-stakes pressure of having it all, of being a woman who has a career and a family. And on the other hand, is there a third hand? I think on the third hand, it is this tribute to readers and writers
Mhm.
and booksellers and librarians, sort of saying, we're this one, and people like you, I mean, this,
Mhm.
which you are all of, we're this wonderful, powerful, gorgeous community. Uh,
Mhm.
we are all in this together because we all love books and we all love storytelling and we all love talking about books and stories. So that's what All This Could Be Yours is about. All this could be yours.
And it's also like she gets to the airport and she's going to go to the airport and bookstore and sign books. She's going to go in there and oh, I've got to check and see. Oh, yeah, I see the periwinkle cover. I see that it's there. I don't have time to go in right now, but I at least see that my book is there. It's very, really interesting. So I love how you talk about the color periwinkle and her readers come to events wearing it. I'm usually branded with the color turquoise, but for you today, I'm wearing periwinkle. And I feel like it makes people feel like they're closer to her, the author. They did something to try to please the author by wearing that and what's going on. Have you been to events where people did things to celebrate you in ways? Like, what if people done things along the way?
That's so sweet of you. People are already wearing periwinkle to events. When my book, the people who have read the advanced copies and the people who have read the NetGalley copies are already wearing periwinkle to events. It's really so sweet and so loving. I mean, Ellen Hildebrand, the queen of us all, who
Yes.
has these color statements for every one of her events, which is just so hilarious and so wonderful.
Yep.
And what that and that's what I wanted to do for Tessa Calloway and All This Could Be Yours, is allow her community to have a sense of sisterhood. I
Hmm.
mean, they know when they sit in a chair at a Tessa event, if they're wearing a periwinkle sweater and the person next to them is wearing a periwinkle sweater, they already have something in common.
Right.
And that is another thing that is so marvelous about our world of books is that you can say to me, have you read X, Y, and Z book? If we don't know each other, and I can say, oh yeah, I read that book, and we already have something to talk
Exactly.
about.
Yes.
Women who wear periwinkle, and All This Could Be Yours, are not only fans of Tessa. I'm hoping that this is conveyed. They are fans of Tessa, but they are also fans of the main character of Tessa's book, Annabelle Brown,
Yes.
the smart, savvy, take charge woman who has sort of had the rug pulled out from under her and who gets her power back. And Tessa's Annabelle, her main character, has had the same experience that Tessa has, right? She's had something really, really bad happen to her, and she's had to take control of her life again. And so the women are drawn, Tessa's readers are drawn to the empowerment element of
Hmm.
Tessa's story and the empowerment element of Annabelle's story. It's so relatable, it's so aspirational. We all, as Tessa says, we have one life. We have one life. And we have to make it our choice of what that one life is going to be. So
Hmm.
that's the theme of Tessa's book. I mean, it's so hilarious because my main character, Tessa Calloway, is a debut author with a novel called All This Could Be Yours. Her novel is called All This Could Be Yours. So I'll be an author on book tour with a novel called All This Could Be Yours, which is about an author on book tour about a novel called All This Could Be Yours. So it's going to be super meta and super fun. And I really can't wait to go on tour and talk about that. But her readers are the driving force of this story,
Hmm.
just like our readers are the driving force of my life.
Hmm.
I just wanted to make that very clear that Tessa loves them and reveres them and embraces them and appreciates them. But maybe some of them may not be having her best interests in mind.
Yeah, and in her drawer in her hotel room, she finds something that she assumes was left by a previous guest, and she starts a conversation where about it on social media. She doesn't exactly tell her husband. She doesn't tell anybody. She tells somebody at the hotel. They're, you go to like guest services in the morning, and she's convinced that her audience can help her find the person who has this. And I thought it was so interesting because it brings her readers in a whole new way, like solve the mystery, be part of my world in a way that was very, very different from what they've been asked to do so far, which was like where Periwinkle would come to my events, right?
That moment was so much fun because, as I said, I don't plan my books in advance. So
Hmm.
when Tessa opens the drawer of her nightstand in her first hotel room and finds this thing, but the first thing that came to my mind was, oh, I wonder what that is. So I didn't know what was in the drawer. And we won't talk about it, but so she decides that it's a lost item that she figures that she knows someone really wants and someone will miss. And she thinks, how can she find out who this belongs to? The hotel won't tell her. They say it's a privacy thing. And she says, you know who had this room before I did. It's clearly theirs, and they won't tell her. So she puts it on social media and she says, could this be yours? And she shows the thing. So people start talking about that and trying to help her, like this mystery, as you say, the online amateur sleuths are going to help Tessa find this thing. But Tessa's publicist texts her and says, "Oh, you're such a smart cookie. Could this be yours? Ha ha. What a good sales pitch that is." And Tessa says, "No, no, no. I really did find a thing. It's really true." And the publicist says, "Come on, sister. No, you didn't. Good for you. This will get a lot of new readers." And Tessa authentically is doing it. It's not made up, but the publicist has decided it's a sales ploy.
Right.
And that's the dichotomy of this world. Every single thing you do, even when it's out of the goodness of your darling heart, someone is going to misinterpret, misunderstand, and make be harmful.
It's exactly every single page. Is she genuine? Is she just ingenuous? Da da da. So on top of it all, Teresa's got these secrets from her childhood that she really wants to keep quiet. They're moments that could really upend her world, and she keeps thinking about the editor told her in the contract there's something about a moral turpitude charge, and that may affect her. And I think the whole time she's there, it's like another level of paranoia of if they find out what happened, is that cause, and does it all go away? And it's all this could be yours, but it's also all this could go away really quick.
Exactly. I mean, this is no spoiler to say, all this could be yours. The title comes from something her husband said to her when they were getting married, getting engaged. He said, "Oh, all this could be yours," meaning himself. And it was adorable and charming and romantic and lovely. And, Henry is pretty cool, we think. But then Tessa starts to realize how sinister that could sound in the wrong hands. That's why I talk about a Faustian bargain, because all this could be yours is clearly followed by if only you do this thing that you never thought you would do. It's
Mhm.
essentially this bargain. So Tessa, as I said earlier, potentially made this kind of a bargain in her youth. And as a result, doesn't like to talk about her childhood, doesn't like to talk about her hometown, doesn't like to talk about her past, doesn't like to talk about anything about her private life. So she has a pretty forward business-like conversation, straightforward business-like conversation with her agent, saying, I don't want to talk about my real life. Do I have to talk about my personal life, my private life, my past life when I'm on tour? And the agent says to her, "No, of course not, sister. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about." And then the agent says, "Except if there's something in your past that could harm the publisher or harm your novel or harm me, then you're in trouble." Because there is this moral turpitude clause which says that if you put the publisher or the agent or all of the above in a bad light, as a result of something that you do or you did and you didn't tell us, then your contract is null and void. You're going to give back the advance. Your career is over and you are doomed. So the agent says, "So is there something like that? Because if there is, you better tell me right now." And Tessa says, "No, there isn't."
Okay.
And
Nothing.
that's just not true. That's just not true. So now she's hiding her past and she's lied to her agent. Two things that you never want to do. Um, but that's the decision that she's made to protect herself and her family now.
What's going on? Yeah. The editor also gives her this great advice on writing a book. Where you have you heard this or you came up? Personality is revealed in the choices a character makes. Then a good book is about causation. Something happens because of something else. Think about those two. And I feel like if you're a reader and you think about those two things, what are the choices the character's making and what causes something else to happen in the book? Did you hear that from somebody early in your career or later, or where's that
Uh,
from?
Actually, that's from me. That is
Whoa.
actually from me. I teach a lot of writing classes,
Okay.
and that's the essence. That is the essence of what I teach in my writing classes. That what makes a book be realistic is causation, just like our real lives. Everything in our life happens because of the thing before, the thing before, the thing before. It's like a series of dominoes that fall. So on page one of a novel, you you tip the first domino and it touches all the other dominoes and they inevitably fall. They have to because. And you've heard the song from The Wizard of Oz, but that is how our real life is. And that is what I hope makes my novels feel realistic
Hmm.
because it's not just a series of disparate events strung together or not strung together. It's a series of a developing, emerging, evolving story where someone has something happen to them, ping, the first domino falls over. And as a result of that, the character has to do something, which is action. As a result of that action, there's an obstacle. As a result of that obstacle, the character has to make a decision again. They have to do something again, and there's another obstacle because. And so my job is twofold as an author. And what I teach in my classes as well is that everything has to mean something according to something else. Everything has to happen as a result of something else. And what the character does has to be believable and understandable for who that character is. So even if you don't like what a character did,
Hmm.
I want you to either say, "Oh, that's so scary," and I understand totally what she did, or, "Oh, that's so scary. And I wouldn't have done that, but I understand why she did that." So,
Right.
my job as a writer is to give you enough information about whatever character it is, not just Tessa, but every other character in the story, enough information about their their desires, their hopes, their dreams, their fears, their motivation, basically, so that when they do something, it makes sense. So you as a reader are thinking, "Oh, yeah, exactly. I totally get that. I totally get that. And I wonder what's going to happen next." Because you can rely on it in my books that something's going to happen next. It has to, because someone wants something and someone needs to have something, and someone will do anything to get that. Nothing will stop them. And if nothing will stop the good guy, and if nothing will stop the bad guy, then at some point those two wants are going to collide, and kaboom, there you have a book.
So for having taught now along the way, you taught a number of classes. Has it made you a better writer just thinking about writing as much as you do besides just writing?
Oh, yes, absolutely. 100%. I mean, I'm now writing my 17th book. I'm in the midst of my 17th book. All This Could Be Yours is my 16th book, which never ceases to
To
amaze
amaze
me.
you, right?
I have to say, you were with me from the beginning. And
Well,
you
yes.
know, well, this has been quite the incredible journey, I do have to say. But there are two things that happen. One is when I started writing, I I can tell you this now. I really didn't know what I was doing in any way. I knew from television how to write a TV story. I know how to tell a story. I know that needs a beginning, middle, and an end. I know it needs a character you really care about with an important problem that needs to be solved, where the good guys win and the bad guys get what's coming to them. And in the end, you get some justice and you want to change the world a little bit. That's a story. And I want to change the life of my readers as well. Also, in television stories, I don't want you to turn the channel.
Yeah.
because it's so easy to click, click, click if you're bored, get something else. So I don't want you to be able to put my books down. I want you to keep turning the pages. So that propulsion, that rhythm, that storytelling telling metabolism, that's really important to me. And that's something that I knew. But writing a novel is a different deal. Who knew?
Right.
So I learned in writing my first novel. My first novel, the first draft of my first novel was 723 pages long. I just want to say I
Wow.
had I had to cut 400 pages.
Right.
And even then, that was such an unbelievably enlightening and educational experience to cut those 400 pages because I thought tangent, diversion, not funny, showing off, repetition, all those kinds of things that I began to recognize in my novels. So I realized what I didn't need, that what I needed was the trunk of the story, beginning, middle, and end, but I don't need all this other stuff. So as I kept writing novels, I learned not to write those things anymore, not to
Mhm.
write the showing off part or the super description or, super duper long inner monologues or a lot of thinking and decision making, just move it along, this narrative thrust, this, forward motion, constantly forward motion in the story. Even though this motion is up and down, it's always forward, and you can rely on me that the motion is going forward. So I think what's happened as I've learned to write, and I raise the bar on myself every time. I want my books every time to be cooler and more fascinating and more interesting and more unique and more imaginative and newer every single time. So it's gotten easier at the same time it's gotten harder
Mhm.
because I know what not to write now. But I've also tried to challenge myself with every book to get better and better. And I think one of the secrets of writing a good book is to realize that the first draft is just me in search of the story. And it doesn't matter if the first draft is pretty terrible. I mean, because I can fix it later.
Mhm.
I just, as I said, if I don't know what the ending is, I don't know what the story is really about until I get there. So, in order to find out what the story is about, I have to get there. So, I just say, just go on, just keep typing, just keep typing. And there are days when I think, this is the worst sentence that anybody has ever written in the entire history of the planet. And then I think, that's true. That's pretty bad. Now just write another bad sentence and another bad sentence and another bad sentence because you can fix it later. I can fix it later. It's not a daily test. The only
Mhm.
daily test is getting my words for the day done.
Right.
And at some point, every book is the same. At the beginning, when I finally get a good idea, I think, this is a great idea. I'm going to write a book about a book tour. Yay. And then about 30 pages in, I think, oh my gosh, a book tour. That's so boring. Every day is exactly the same. How am I going to deal with that? And I think this is never going to work. Then I think, oh, I have a good idea. Yes, I know how this can work. And I go to about the middle. And in the middle, I think, oh, whose idea was this? This is horrible. This is a terrible idea. I'm never going to finish this. It's never going to work. I don't care how many books I've written in the past. This one isn't going to work. And then I have a good idea and I think, oh, maybe it'll work a little bit. And I just persevere, persevere, persevere. And about three-quarters of the way through, every time, knock on wood, every time I say, oh, that's what this is about. That
Mhm.
that's what this story is about. Okay, thank you. And then I go on and finish, and I finally figure out the ending. That's the hard part because sometimes I think, oh, I've created a crime I can't solve. That's going to be a problem because this baby's going to have an ending somehow. And then the ending just appears. I think, oh, that is exactly what has got to happen. Thank you. And I'm typing 1,000 million miles an hour. And then I get to the ending and then I say, okay,
Yeah.
now I'm going to start over. And I
Mhm.
start at the beginning, knowing what my book is about and what it's for and why it's come into existence. And I start taking out everything that isn't that. Because
Mhm.
they talk about oh, we have to kill our darlings. Well, they're not darlings to me, Carol. If they're messing up my pacing and clogging up the forward motion and being digressions and being divergences, I don't want that. I want you
Right.
to just zoom through this. And that, my most fun part is editing. My
Right.
most fun part is taking away everything that isn't the book.
Right. And then adding more in because I say I can get this tighter. I can do this. I can do that. I can do the other thing. I feel like there's this book that has a lot of tension. I feel like you've rolled a book of suspense, mystery, and thriller all into one with this book. Now, when you write suspense and you're trying to bring the reader along, the highs and lows, does that happen later in the editing process? Like, okay, at the end, do you sit there and say, wait a second, too many low spots, too flat, need a little bit more tension here as you're reading that second or third or fourth or 10th time?
Yes and no. One of my major goals on the first draft is to make sure that there's tension and conflict at every moment. Again, another thing I tell my classes is if there's not a problem, that's your problem. So at every single step of the way, there has to be a problem or there's no reason to go on, right? You're just going to cuddle up under the comforter and stay home. So there's got to be some impetus, some stakes, super high stakes, some real reason for the person to persevere forward, to pursue what she's doing. Later, I'll go back and make sure it's all there and
Mhm.
take out everything that's sort of saggy, or droopy. I try to take that out. I recognize one of the, when you talk about after having written 17 books, one of the things I recognize that I do because of not knowing what I'm going to do next is that a lot of my main characters often are deciding things. Should
Mhm.
I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? And they do that on the page. And that's really me deciding what to do. And then they eventually decide what to do and do it. So when I go back in editing, I sort of take out those paragraphs where she's deciding what
What
to
to
do.
do, right?
We understand our own quirks. I understand my own quirks after all these years. And so I recognize them, I laugh at them, I leave them for a while, and then I take them out.
Take them out. Throughout the book, there's also this whole subtext voice of Annabelle. And did you write that all along, or did you go back and drop Annabelle in later?
Well, listen to this. I mean, this is so fascinating. And this is why writing a book is just such an extraordinary experience. Annabelle is the main character in Tessa Calloway's book, All This Could Be Yours. My main character wrote a book called All This Could Be Yours. It's about a character called Annabelle Brown, this sort of kick-ass woman. And I knew that, and I knew kind of what Tessa's All This Could Be Yours was about, a book club book. Um, but I didn't, that's all. So I was writing that first scene where Tessa's at her book event and things are going on, and someone asks Tessa a question, and you hear the voice of Annabelle saying, uh-oh. It says, uh-oh, Annabelle said. And I thought, what? Annabelle talks? What? Annabelle's in her head. I was so surprised to hear the voice of Annabelle in my head.
Mhm.
I did not plan it. I did not know it. It was not a thing. When I pitched the book, there was no voice of Annabelle. So I thought, well, this is a gift. Thank you. This means Tessa, my main character, Tessa, is a real person. She
Mhm.
has her character's voice in her head. And in the book, I just let Annabelle talk when she talked. I mean,
Mhm.
you understand this. I know this sounds woo-woo to some people, but you get this. When she talked when she was supposed to
Right.
talk.
Mhm.
Um, and it's interesting because that's another, so wise of you. Thank you for asking this question. Um, we authors sit here in these rooms and by ourselves for a year or however long, and we're talking to imaginary people. We're talking about imaginary people. We're living the lives and creating the worlds of imaginary people. And when one of those characters talks to us, that's what we want more than anything in the world. Is that our imagination? Is that a writer brain? Is that what they sometimes call the muse? Is that being in the zone? What really is that? But we don't really care what it is
Well,
because we love it, we embrace it. And you can't make it happen. It's going to happen or it isn't going to happen. And when it does happen, we love it. But to someone who doesn't write a book, or doesn't write books, that's kind of weird. Right? That you're hearing somebody's voice in your head. So Tessa makes no bones about that she hears Annabelle's voice, and she makes no bones about that she relies on Annabelle's voice. And she's very clear. It's not magic.
Mhm.
It's not a ghost. It's just not any of those things. It's just some inexplicable writer thing. This is not a paranormal in any way. It's just a writer book.
Right.
Some of her fans, Tessa's fans, say, "Do you really hear Annabelle's voice?" And Tessa, pauses for a minute and says, "It's really hard to explain that, yes, I do hear Annabelle's voice." And then you hear Annabelle say, "You sure do." But I love Annabelle, and I even love more that Tessa hears Annabelle, because that's again my tribute to whatever it is that allows us to be authors, whatever it is that allows us to create new people. And if those new created people come alive in our minds in some way, for whatever reason, which you will understand for Tessa in this book, then we're all just so grateful
Yeah.
for that. And I just sort of wanted to pay homage to that a little bit in the
Yeah.
book.
The character, yeah, the character's real. The character's real to her. So the character's going to talk to her. I love this line when Tess is told to put it in your mind's worry pile. I'm going to now start a mind worry pile. I'm going to put it in my mind where I just want you to know that if I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. And things happen along the way that aren't of her doing. She gets reprimanded like she's in school by the publicist at one point, like, what did you do? Why did you do that? Don't do that again. You didn't take the author escort, that costs money. I mean, it's just very interesting to see all the things where she could get in trouble. She could just get in trouble like that fast, you know?
Well, I love that. I love the idea of you. I mean, you, Carol, reading this, because you understand book world more than, every aspect of book world more than anybody does, the whole spectrum of book world. And so everything that happens to Tessa along the way is an experience that you've had as
Mhm.
well. When you open the door to an author escort car, and
Yeah.
here's a stranger that's you entrusting your life to and your career to and your suitcase to take you somewhere. Everything is just so precipitous. And if anything goes wrong, everybody's going to be angry, because your publisher is going to be angry, your publicist is going to be angry, your agent's going to be angry, the bookstore is going to be angry, your reader's going to be angry, your children will be without food, and your husband will be without money and without you. And every single decision you make is terrifying. And there are so many decisions along the way, and so many reasons why an author's life is so often out of their control.
Hmm.
And I hope I wanted it to be entertaining. I mean, there are parts that are funny, and there are parts that are truly true. There's also sort of a thread of how Tessa solves her own mystery by thinking about how she would solve it if she were
Yeah.
writing it in a
Yes.
book. So you've already picked up on a couple of the writing tips. I absolutely love that you saw that, because Tessa does think, how do I write a book? And since a book is actually a mirror of real life, maybe that is how I solve my own problems, by seeing how I would solve them in fiction.
Yeah, how would I do that? What would happen? What would do this? You also have these two great scenes, speaking of real life, where Tessa's interviews on camera. And I could picture you sliding in the chair for these. And I thought it was fun for you to write the backstory and what happens. Like there's somebody walking around going, put your mic on. Now it's going to be New York, and they're going to come up. Just look at this screen. No, don't worry about the book cover. We've got that on a slide over here. And I just pictured you, who have done so much television, to know like, oh, and then when the light goes on, just look there and talk, and then the light's going to go off and you're done. And she's sitting in some place going, wait, what am I going to do? I'm in a closet here, basically. Just
Yeah,
make
it was fun to have the television experience, to reveal that television experience to Tessa, who has no television experience. So I wanted to make that she's on TV with New York from Boston,
right.
remote broadcast, and so it is a whirlwind. It is crazy, and it's again, it takes her out of real life, because it doesn't feel like she's on television to her,
No.
but she is being broadcast to millions of people. And again, when you're talking about a person on book tour with a stalker who's suddenly on live nationwide television, and something goes wrong, then you're supremely doomed. So there's still that tension underscoring what's already very stressful.
Yeah, you're gonna go on to and you're gonna talk about this book, but somebody could be right behind you doing like whatever, you know. I always found it was interesting if you go to a television studio and you see the studio is so beautiful, and behind it there's wires and cables. It's a complete mess. And it's concrete floors. And I remember one time we were thinking about having an event over at one of the CBS studios, and it was the time where it was on the Final Four. And I went in and I saw the area where the Final Four, and the rest was just a mess. And I said, we can't have an event here. Like this is just not
But
event space.
what a metaphor that is, though, isn't it? That all we see is gorgeous, glittery,
Yes.
beautifully lighted a set. And behind it, though, behind that facade, it's a horrible, wire-filled, disgusting, dirty mess. I
And
just
that's
think that is quite the vision.
and that's what they're looking at. Like when they're sitting doing their television interview, they are looking at that and camera one, two, three, four, wherever you're supposed to go. I always find it interesting. Like we usually watch NBC Nightly News, and you watch somebody's walking off the set usually and getting back into position, and you just watch, oh, it's like four, three, two, one, you're still standing where you're not supposed to be. Get out of there. It's very funny. Very, very funny. So was the title all this could be yours? Was this always the working title, the
This
title?
All This Could Be Yours was the title before there was even a book. There
Mm.
was no question that this was going to be the title. And it's so interesting because it, the title came from my thought, how far would you go to get what you want?
Mhm.
What if an author made a Faustian bargain, which resulted in success? What would that be? And All This Could Be Yours was so evocative to me. And I don't know where it came from. It came from the same place that Annabelle Brown's voice came from. You
Yeah.
know, and my brain said, all this could be yours because that is such an offer. That is such a tempting offer. How far would you go? Would you sell your soul
Yeah.
to get what you want? That's what All This Could Be Yours is
Right.
about. But it's also like, all this could be yours. This is so great if you only work hard, if you only try hard, if you're only lucky, if you're only a tiny bit talented and a whole lot lucky, and you have a wonderful family, all this could be yours. It could be great.
Yeah.
So it's so dark and so light at the same time. And that's why I really loved it. And everybody loved it. It's so
Yeah.
interesting. Everybody loved it from moment one. Do you like it, right?
I really like it. I really like it because and it also does sound like somebody's first book. Oh, this could be yours. You know, this is like, what does everybody want? They want everything that they want. So this is the first cover you saw, or did they play around with covers? Getting bad light. There's bad light.
It was always going to be some kind of a book because it's a
Right.
book about a book, essentially. It's a book about a book about a book about the past. So we wanted something that seemed to have a little reveal that
Mm-hmm.
clearly that novel is behind something that happens, and that what happens in the book peels away the present to reveal the past or peels away the reality. They even did a great job on the spine of the book,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is so gorgeous when it's again that as
That
if
that
you
red.
could
Yeah.
tear off a piece of paper and get to the real story inside. And that's
Ooh.
essentially what that book is about.
Oh, I love the side. Oh, the side. I didn't see that. See? It's like going to an art museum. Did you see the picture? Did you really see the picture? Now I really see the edge. And they did it on the galleys too, which is wonderful.
And
It's got lots of
you see the periwinkle earring dangling from the rip, you know.
oh, okay.
Um,
All right. Oh, okay, dokie. Lots of nice things on the back too. Lots of nice things. I'm just saying. Just saying that. Just saying that. So the audiobook is narrated by Sarah Mollo-Christensen. What about her book? What about her voice captivated you? Was there something particular that you said that's the one?
well, you know how this works, you all. They send you, the publisher sends you, and this is Macmillan Audio, who I adore, sends you several auditions of authors. And they are all good. They're just all marvelous, wonderful, brilliant voices. And it's really hard. It's also hard because so I'm supposed to listen to these auditions and pick. No pressure, right? Just
Right.
no pressure for the audiobook reader. So one of the problems with it, if you really want the inside story, one of the problems with it is if you think about, I was sitting here for a year or plus writing this book, and I was hearing Tessa's voice in my head talk about Annabelle Brown, I was hearing Tessa's voice in my head
Right.
the whole time. So I had to learn, and I've had to learn this for every book, that the audio narrator's voice, the actor's voice, isn't going to be my voice. So I have to sort of discard what I've heard for a year and then try to open my mind to something new, to a new way, a new voice, a new intonation. Also, in the audiobook audition, they haven't read the whole book
Right. Right.
or any part of the book except this little snippet that they're going to read. So they don't really know the context. So you have to sort of listen around that. And, I can know that I can say, this is sarcastic, this is honest, this is loving, this is authentic, this is foreshadowing. But they don't know that. But what I loved about Sarah is that it's not super dramatic. She's
Hmm.
just talking like a regular person. I didn't want, Tessa Calloway, open the door to the, or like, Tessa Calloway, open the door to the, because there are some voices that you just can't listen to. And what I loved the most about Sarah was that she was normal, authentic, businesslike, obviously a good person. And at one point in listening to her audition, I forgot that I was listening to her and I just started listening to the story.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
That's the
there
moment.
we have it. That was the moment that did it. I'm sure there are other people that could have equally done it well. And there's so many wonderful
Right.
audio
Right.
actors.
Right. There are.
But at that, she just took me. I mean, I wrote the book and she took me out of my world into the world of the book. And that is exactly what I wanted.
That's exactly what you're looking for because that's what the reader is going to have happening to them. It's where you want them to be drawn right into your world, but in the way you want to be told. You want it to be told, the one you want it to be heard. So you're always working on something new. You're always, if you are the one person I know that is always saying to me, "Well, I'm here on this book, but I'm working on this." So something's in the wings, yes?
Oh yes, something's in the wings. It's which I should be writing right now, Carol. That's no pressure, but it's like due in 2 weeks. I just want to let you know that the second edits are due in 2 weeks. No pressure.
Mm.
So yeah, I am working on a new book. We're unlike all this could be yours. We have no idea what the title is going to be.
Okay. Okay.
It's absolutely up in the air. Let's see how much I can tell you about this.
No.
Is it's about a woman who is an apprentice book agent.
Okay.
Mm. I don't want to tell you any more than that.
This is
And she is babysitting for her darling niece. Well, let me put it this way. It's a young woman who's a book agent whose parents were killed in a plane crash.
okay.
She and her sister survived.
Okay.
So now, all these years later, her sister has had a daughter. And one day, the main character, whose name is Eliza, is babysitting for niece Piper, and her mom is supposed to come pick Piper up, and she doesn't arrive. That
Mm.
is line one, page one. So, plane crash survivor. Why did the plane crash? One day, um, the mom is supposed to show up and pick up the daughter, and she doesn't arrive. And I'll tell you one more thing, they find her car at the airport.
Ooh.
It is on the same day that the plane crashed so many years ago.
And I'm thinking, what is she going to feed that child?
She's
How much
thinking that
does she know
too.
about that child? And what great voice does that child get to have of just coming out with really brilliant lines? Because even in this book, there are two children and they come out with things. And it's at one point, the little boy saying that something went wrong. And she goes like, "Where's your father?" Like, you're calling me? Like, why would you call me if this situation happened? And I remember one of my sons called me one time and I said, "Wait a second. I was thinking I was on the West Coast." And I said, "You're calling me?" Like, no, there are other people that you could be asking this question of right now.
3,000 miles away from
I
you.
don't know if I'm the person to solve this. And I'm like, wait a second, wait. What about the hospital? Wait, have you told your father that this is what's going on? And it was just like this really funny moment. He goes, "Well, I thought to call you first." And I was like,
I
okay, I
love that.
love that you wanted to call me first, but I'm probably not call one on this one. I'm And
But you
you
have
just
to,
made me remember that. And I remember sitting in San Diego going, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? You know?
welcome to Tessa's world.
Exactly, exactly. And I also love there's this moment with the daughter with the sweater. Every mother who has a daughter who wants to wear her clothes will understand. I have boys, I don't have this issue, but it's really, really funny of like, and you know that on the phone she's gonna get her way. Like you know, because the guilt of I'm not there is gonna get her the sweater. I loved it. See these little points in the book I picked up on, these little tiny things. They're great.
I rely on you for it. And I cannot begin to tell you, as an author, what an absolute joy it is to hear this. And I speak for all authors when I say, we work so hard on this.
Yeah.
And there are little moments in the book that we particularly love. And I just love how that you've just picked them out and offered them back to me. And I'm really, really happy about
There are all
that.
these little pages that are folded down as I read the galley. And then I go back and I don't know why I folded them down because
Oh,
they may not matter. This one actually got a fold and then another fold. That was like a
oh,
big complicated thing there. But sometimes it doesn't matter, like because I figured it out, or it's not going to be as poignant. Yeah. It's a lot of fun though. But if you just fold down the pages, then later on you say, oh, and I didn't fold down that many at the beginning. It was because I was getting into the story. So you can actually see there's this little method here. You can't really see it, but
no, no, I do the same thing. I
all these
totally.
pages. And then all of a sudden, I was like, page, 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 double page, double this, double
That's,
that.
that's the funnel of suspense, isn't it? I mean,
Hmm.
you're introduced to a world and you think, what? And then you get spiraled right down into that funnel and you cannot stop reading.
And then your suitcase is in the back of the car and you're going, oh no, what did I just do? Well, thank you for doing it because I really appreciated reading it. Readers, you're in for a really good treat. I mean, look, you're going to understand about the book world, the travel. You're also going to go up to authors and be so kind to them when they're on book tour because believe me, they got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And look, it used to be that we did morning talk shows and there were three in whatever city we're going to. That doesn't happen anymore. We still have to get up at 4 o'clock to get there because there are no flights. So it hasn't changed, has it? It hasn't changed. It's still that crazy hours of the morning.
All that crazy hours. My agent will say, so first you're going to get up real early. And I think, please don't make me get up real early
Right.
because I'm ruined for the rest of the day. But it's sort of the adrenaline of book tour will carry
Yes.
me along. I know that's true.
And you can nap when you can, and you have to eat sensibly. And I really love the meals that she comes up with her Caesar salad totally prepared. I was very impressed. You must be great
Because,
on the road. You're
well,
organized,
I have learned, here's my on the road trick, is you're in the Uber on the way back to the hotel from the bookstore.
right?
Order room service when you're in the Uber so
Ooh,
that the food is ready when you get back. So then you can eat it right away and go right to sleep instead of having to wait 45 more minutes.
no,
This sounds kind of glamorous.
no, but that's
This is not glamorous. You're starving and you're exhausted the entire time. And your whole life is like, is everything okay at home? Am I going to sell books? When am I going to get food? And when am I going to sleep?
exactly,
That's all.
exactly. No, people don't understand that that's exactly when will I ever see food again? And you have like little snacks. I mean, when I used to go out to Comic-Con, I used to empty the refrigerator and go buy healthy food so that I wouldn't eat the Snickers bars later because I would inhale anything that came my way. Last year we were going out to Colorado and we got to the airport and there've been like a million delays. The flight's delayed. My husband wants to board early and I'm looking at the United Club going, I can get food there. No, we don't go. So I get on the plane and the flight attendant comes down and the two children next to me have gone to sleep, right? And she says, would you like a cookie? Like, I'm like, a cookie? Like, yeah, fine. I said, oh, and can I take them for the children too? I ate all three cookies. And I'm
What are
confessing
you
now,
for?
I ate all three of those cookies. If those children woke up, it was going to be sorry there were no cookies because I needed the cookie.
I have almonds with me at all times because they're for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and with wine and coffee and Diet Coke. It all works. But you learn to, I buy a turkey sandwich in every airport just in case there's no food somewhere. But
Right.
I just want to make really, really sure that you all realize that this book is in no way a complaint. It's an
No, no,
absolute embracing of this whole fabulous, wonderful
yeah,
world readers and writers and books. I love every second of it.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny too because I remember being someplace and I wanted to get Sudafed, and they said your credit card is not valid here, and I was like, Okay, it's United credit card. I just flew on their airplane to get here. How do they know I'm not here? Like, really? So you're right. It is everything is a complete your is definitely a love letter, but it's also, oh my gosh, what it took to get here. Literally what it took to get here. And you don't have one plane that doesn't leave. You don't have one time where the flight doesn't take off. You're very, very optimistic.
Please don't jinx this. That's I did that on purpose. I don't want that to happen. There's nothing that happens untoward. Well, I don't know. Maybe there is. You'll have to read it to find out.
Yeah, you have to read. Oh, no, you definitely have to read it to find out, folks. Hank, as always, thank you for your time. It was so much fun. I look forward to next book and doing this again.
Thank you. It is such a treat to talk with you. You're such a wise and careful reader. Thank you for this, and thank you for everything.
You make me smarter about what I'm reading too every time I talk to you. So thank you so much. And to everybody else, we'll see you next time on Book Reporter Talks to. Thanks for joining us today.